India getting bowled out for 36 in the first test match, then coming back and taking the Border Gavaskar trophy home back to India. They only had a draw today, but they won. Now, I just want to quickly hype on about the Indian culture. Having such young players coming through and play under duress when the team is under extreme pressure, full credit goes to Ajinkya Rahane, Ravi Shastri, and the selectors for believing in the youth. It was an unbelievable performance. Now, moving forward quickly, Australia have to win at least 2 test matches and draw the third one against South Africa to get in the Test Championship final. India only have to beat England 2-0 to stay on top of the others. England have to win the final test down there in Sri Lanka and beat India 3-0. So at the present moment, it looks as though India are definitely going to be in the World Test Championship because I can't see England beating them there. And Australia are on the back foot. So interesting times in the World Test Champion. You wouldn't have thought that Australia would lose a series on their home soil here. Now, there's a few points before I get through and get your questions. What I liked about this Test series was India putting Australia under pressure. Australia didn't really know what total and how many overs they wanted to leave India to chase that total down. And it was because of sheer pressure from the Indian bowlers. Those youngsters had a plan. Yes, they were under a lot of pressure, but they executed it perfectly. They didn't drift away from that plan. And full credit to those youngsters because it's under pressure and sometimes you can feel the pinch. I won't call it choking because they are new to the test arena, but they could have panicked at any stage and just started to try to get wickets, but they didn't. They kept going with their game plan. And then you look at the Indian batters. I thought the method in this final day was absolutely sensational. You had Pujara, who looked as though he was there to bat the whole day. And how well did he bat? Taking those body blows on the body and just facing up to the next delivery. I just thought it was courage and it just was great leadership, and the youngsters wanted to stand up and get right behind him and make sure they didn't let that hard work from Pujara down. The other thing is I liked was that they allowed Gill to play with freedom. Now, Gill was playing quite aggressively while Pujara was just holding up at the other end, and if he got the score that he did, he put India in a position to win the test match. Then Ajinkya Rahane was able to come out and play a little more aggressively than what he normally does in test cricket. But Pant, he was superb. He was brilliant. People say that he's got to change his game in certain situations. I don't believe this. Believe that he should. He's a maverick. He adds a point of difference to the game. And as we've seen in this 5th day, he can win the game off his own bat because he plays with freedom. He's got absolute belief and he doesn't think of failure. He just thinks he can go out and hit every ball. So for me, you've got to have that type of player in your list. Moving forward for India, where they might have a little bit of an issue right now because they've got their opening batters sorted. They've got the middle order sorted in the likes of Pujara, Ajinkya Rahane and Kohli coming back. Pant batting 6 with your bowling, 2 bowling all-rounders and your 3 quicks when you play against England. I think that is going to be your lineup. It's not worth having someone else come in and keep in front of Pant because Pant can do so much damage. And if you do that, you're going to lose a bowling option. Now, Australia, in this particular series, where did they lose it? They lost it out the SCG. For me, Tim Payne was starting to get a little bit petty through that 3rd test match. He was talking about the snicko and he was taking his mind off the job. The Australian management should have got on top of him there and tried to make sure that he was okay before they went in the 5th day. And when Tim Payne started talking about the Gabba, India knew that they were half a chance of winning that contest up there in Brisbane. So Australia didn't have the game plan in day 5 of the SCG. They thought they were going to do it out the Gabba. And when you leave things too late and you get too far ahead of yourself, you're going to be put on the back foot. So for me, I thought it was a great test series, great comeback from India. And for a team to only have 2 players playing in the last test match from the first test match that they selected is an amazing feat. I don't think that would have been done in any other test series where you have 4 test matches or more. So well done to India. Well deserved. I'm disappointed that Australia lost, obviously, but Australia on their home soil against a depleted Indian team will be very disappointed, and they've got to go back and think about their team moving forward. Now for Australia, they've got some headaches. They can't just rely on Labuschagne and Steve Smith. They've got David Warner opening the batting. He's got to start to lift when they tour. He's got to put better performances on the board. Do they stick with Harris, or is Pucovski going to be fully fit? Pucovski's injuries are a bit of an issue, so there's no stability at the top. And the middle order, do they go back to head, or do they bring in someone like a Madison in that middle order to bat around Green? And is Tim Payne, with the performances of the skipper over the last couple of test matches, is he going to stay as skipper, or are they going to bring in Alex Carey? They are the big questions for me. Righty-o, let's get into some questions. Credit should go to Rahane and Shastri. Abdullah, I totally agree with you, mate, because Ajinka Rahane took over when Kohli went away, and it wasn't looking too good for India there. They were on the back foot after that first test match. Now, for someone like Ajinka Rahane to take over such a young squad when they're on the back foot shows true leadership for me. I'm surprised that the Rajasthan Royals dumped him. You've got to have an Indian captain in the IPL. But what Rahane and Ravi Shastri did was back the younger players, sat down there and kept it simple for them, kept the game plan simple, didn't try to make them do anything that they're not used to doing. So Pant was allowed to play aggressively, Gill was allowed to play aggressively, and the bowlers were given a simple plan and they executed it perfectly. So well done to Rahane and Ravi Shastri. Great stuff there. Is this series Australia's biggest defeat in history? This is nowhere. Kartik, I think it is. Small print here. For me, this is Australia's biggest defeat by far. India winning last time here on Australian soil. India were at full strength. Australia weren't. They didn't have Warner and Smith. And this time, Australia were out full strength. They couldn't go to anyone else in this lineup. They had their specialist bowlers in there. India were depleted. India were hamstrung with all the injuries. For me, this is Australia's biggest defeat on Indian soil. And look, I just want to point out with Justin Langer, the way he was in the media, I think he'll be very upset with the loss, but full credit to him for acknowledging the efforts of the Indian cricket team. So I'd just like to share that. Just saw his press conference afterwards. So love from India. Thanks very much for that. I wish I could really... No, that's screening me up and down. You don't really want to have a look at my nose, do you? How do I... Yeah, there we go. There we go. I'll sit back down. Love from India. Great series in this pandemic. Last match as its peak and best. What are your thoughts? Can Australia still play in the final of the World Test Series Championship? Sorry, I can't acknowledge the names here because it's just a bit of small text. I've got to learn how to have it on the computer so I can see the questions and see your names. Thanks very much for joining me. So sorry about that. Look, Australia can still get there because they'll be thinking that they can beat South Africa on their home soil. South Africa at the moment have got a few hurdles with their lineup. They won't be too comfortable with Australia coming over, but it's going to be a damn good series. It's always tough to beat South Africa over there. I think South African bowlers will trouble the Australian batters. It's just about how many runs South Africa can get on the board. Have they got good batting depth to challenge this Australian attack? For me, Australia are too reliant on their big three quicks and Smith and Labuschagne. And you can see, it brings up another point, you can see the stress and the pressure on Stephen Smith because he's got to take the brunt of the pressure from the opposition. And if you go back to the 2011 World Cup with India winning it over in India, they were worried about the pressure from outside, and they had Mike Horn come in and talk to them, and he was saying, you can't afford to let that pressure come in. You've got to work together. You've got to go to your weakest link. So that's the player that is last picked on the team, and you've got to build him up to make sure that he takes some of the pressure away from the likes of a Tendulkar or an MS Dhoni. And this is what the youngsters in Australia have to do. They have to take some pressure off Stephen Smith in that batting lineup. We can't afford to rely on him too much. So Australia are very vulnerable going to South Africa, but I still think they're a big chance of getting there. Hoggs, sir, please tell about youngsters stepping up of India. Siraj, Shardul, Natu, that's Rajan for everyone who's listening, Sundar and Gill. Look, as I was saying, they were given a game plan, they stuck with it, and for me, you've got to give them full credit because they didn't panic, they stuck to their guns. Yes, they were put under pressure at certain stages throughout the test series or that test match, the final test match, but they went back and they kept it nice and simple. And they would have had a bit of panic with Saini going down with an injury on day one as well. But full credit to him coming out and finding a way to bowl and, again, taking the pressure off the other bowlers. Yes, he wasn't bowling out full pace. He was bowling within, but he still kept the pressure on by going with a good line and length. Gill, he looks as though he's someone that's going to be something special. Rowett not firing to the best of his capability. Pujara slow at the other end, but he knew that Pujara had that role to bat the whole game, and it was his role to play that attacking style. And I just think India have got a good balance there. Two attacking openers with the war, or can I say the second war, because we've got Rahul Dravid there, who's one of my favourite players. Pujara just doing his role perfectly. They're a very well balanced team. Sir, thanks very much for that. But the fire in the Aussies nowadays, is it missing? No, I think the Australians have still got plenty of fire in there. I think when they get too aggressive, they lose the focus on what they have to do. If you look back into that third test match, they went too short for too long. The ball was reversing and they had Mitchell Starc not pitching the ball up and swinging it away until it was too late. In those final 3 overs that he bowled, he was troubling the two batsmen out the crease at that stage. He should have been doing that a lot earlier. They should have had one bowler being aggressive with the short pitch bowling, but the other two who can swing it with reverse, get it up on a good length and trouble the opposition batsman. Is this Australia's? Yeah, I've already answered that one. Okay, are there any more? No, there's no more questions. Mate, I'd like to say your name. As I said before, I just can't see them. All right, guys. Thanks very much for joining me. I don't think there's any more questions there to answer, but it's been a great series, a great test series, and full credit to India for standing up when they had so many injuries, and the youngsters have been phenomenal. And I think just one thing before we go here, India moving forward now will realise that they've got a bit more depth in their bowlers. Yes, they've got Shami, they've got Ishant Sharma, they've got Umesh Yadav and Bumrah, but now they can start rotating those bowlers with the likes of Siraj, Saini, Shardul, those three particular bowlers, because of what they've done in Australia. There will be a lot more belief there, knowing that they can do a role. And because they've done that role and they've had that success there, I'd be trying to get them in this England series earlier than later and reward them for their good efforts. And that will give them more belief and more confidence moving forward. India are looking good. I think India are definitely going to be in the Test Championship. Is it going to be New Zealand, Australia, or England? Let's find out and wait. I tell you what, there's a lot of good Test cricket coming. This is the best series I have seen for a very long time. Well done to both teams, and well done to India. Thanks very much for joining me. I'll have another vlog out on Saturday. Make sure you get your mates on board as well, and we'll have a lot of fun moving forward to the World Test Championship final this year. Thanks, guys, and good luck.